Dr. Albert Hayes stared at the hospital letter in his trembling hands. He had terminal cancer and only months to live. "I only have months left," he whispered to his wife Mary, whose eyes filled with tears. "We will fight this together," she promised, squeezing his hand. They tried every treatment they could find: chemotherapy, radiation, experimental drugs, but nothing worked. Albert refused to give up. Late one night, he mixed new compounds in his home lab and, against Mary's worried protests, injected himself with his own experimental serum. "I need to try this," he said quietly, and Mary nodded, afraid but hopeful. When Albert woke the next morning, he felt no pain, and tests showed his tumor was gone. He had done it, an injection that cured his cancer. Later, after running some tests, he discovered that his new injection could cure all diseases. But 3 days later, he looked in the mirror and recoiled. His skin had turned strange, folded and rough, and his face had become hideous. "The cure?" he muttered, touching his scarred cheek. "It might have a side effect." When he went to the hospital to run some tests, the doctors and nurses avoided him. One nurse dropped her clipboard and ran away. When Albert's wife Mary saw him, she stepped back with horror. "Albert, what happened?" she gasped. He could only whisper, "The injection made me ugly." Within a week, Mary left him. "I can't live like this," she said through tears as she walked out the door. Devastated, Albert sank into depression, but he kept working hard in his lab. Soon he sold his miracle injection to hospitals worldwide and grew rich. People lined up to cure cancer, heart disease, and rare disorders, but each person who took it became ugly just like Albert. Before long, ugliness was normal. Everyone's face twisted and lined, but they were healthy. Yet many grew depressed. They missed their old appearance, and some even took their own lives as they became increasingly depressed over time. As the months passed, suicide rates continued to rise. Albert watched news reports, global suicide rise, all blame the cure. Guilt tore at him. One sleepless night, Albert studied his notes and found a way to reverse the side effect of his cure. He worked around the clock, then produced a second injection. He packed thousands of doses and sent them to hospitals for free. People lined up to get their old faces back, and tears of joy flowed as each face healed. A few chose to stay ugly, saying beauty is only skin deep. The ones who used the second injection regained their old appearance, but their previous diseases also returned, and they became sick. Many of them didn't care about the suffering. Their only wish was to die looking the way they used to. Others, however, chose to use the first injection again to cure their illnesses. They gave up their good looks in exchange for a healthy life. Finally, Albert used the second injection on himself. He injected himself on live television. "I'm ready," he said, voice shaking. Minutes later, his features smoothed, and he looked like the man Mary had once loved. But as he smiled, he felt a familiar ache in his chest. His cancer had returned. "I hope this helps you all," he whispered, and with that, he closed his eyes for the last time. In his final moments, Albert lay in a hospital bed, the sun warming his healed skin through the window. He had saved millions and taught the world that everything comes at a price, and that every life, no matter how brief, can change the course of history. His wife Mary had fallen in love with a wealthy man and married him. A year later, she was diagnosed with cancer. To save herself, she used Albert's cure, and it made her appearance change drastically, and she became ugly. Her new husband left her because of it. Now she cried alone, realizing how Albert must have felt when she abandoned him. She spent the rest of her life in loneliness, unable to accept her new appearance. But she didn't live long. Her depression and isolation eventually led to a heart attack, and she died alone in her home. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to my channel for more thrilling tales. I also write novels in different genres like sci-fi, fantasy, and horror. If you'd like to check them out, click the link in the description below. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more exciting stories.